the lipid bilayer, that is the plasma membrane of cells, and it has in the center a hydrophobic nonpolar part. And what happens, because there are these molecules, there are the phospholipids, the glycolipids, and the cholesterol. And they have all something with them which makes them polar at one side and non-polar at the other one. They are the phospholipids. They have a phosphor head. That phosphor group head is polar. And the polar phosphor head group head of the phospholipids is hydrophilic. It is polar and hydrophilic. It loves the water. So it turns to the watery portion on the outside in the extracellular fluid, and a bunch of other ones of them are turning to the inside to the cytosol, the watery fluid part of the cell inside of the cell. And so they're just all there, and we're turning around, all with the head facing the phosphor head, the phospholipids, the watery part on both sides. And then they have just then the tail to the inside, the two fatty acid tail, which are hydrophobic, they don't like the water, they turn away, like magnets turning around. And then in the center there is now this hydrophobic, the tails, the fatty acids, they don't like water, hydrophobic non-polar region. And these phospholipids, they are 75% of all these lipids there. And then the cholesterol, they are 20%. And they have an OH alcohol group at their head. And that forms hydrogen bonds with the polar phosphor heads of the phospholipids. So these cholesterol things are also going with the head, with their OH alcohol group head to the heads of the phospholipids. And they have also a tail with steroid rings and a hydrocarbon thing. And then the last 5%, these are glycolipids. They have a sugary carbohydrate attached, and that is doing the same. It's going also there to that. And that way the lipid bilayer is formed. The glycoproteins, the glycolipids, they're going only to the outside. They're only in the outside membrane, and that is why outside layer. And that is why the lipid bilayer is asymmetric, because, for example, the glycolipids are just at the outside. And that is according to Gerard-Tugan-Sender-Grovski's Principles of Anatomy and Physiology book on the pages 62 and 63. But this is now substitute for medical knowledge and also now medical advice. Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn cytology. Today, the lipid bilayer, and after we've done that, we're going to do arm strength training. And if you participate in the arm strength training, then it's at your own risk. The lipid bilayer. The basic framework of the plasma membrane is the lipid bilayer. Two back-to-back layers made up of three types of lipid molecules: the phospholipids, cholesterol, and glycolipids. So this is the back-to-back layer, and there are three types of lipid molecules: phospholipids, glycolipids, and cholesterol. About 75% of membrane lipids are phospholipids, 75% phospholipids, that contain phosphate groups, and smaller amount cholesterol, which is a steroid with an attached OH thing or group, and then various glycolipids. And they are having sugar carbohydrate groups attached. Okay, it's the lipid bilayer. We have 75% of the glycolipids. They are containing phosphate groups. Phospholipids. They're containing phosphate groups. The cholesterol of the glycolipids, they have a sugary carbohydrate group attached. The glycolipids, they have a sugary carbohydrate groups attached, and then the cholesterol, they have steroid rings and then an OH alcohol group. The bilayer arrangement occurs because the lipids are empiphatic, and the way they are arranging is because they're empiphatic or molecules, and that means that they have a polar and a non-polar part. In phospholipids, the polar part is the phosphate-containing head. The phospholipids, they contain phosphate groups, and the phosphate-containing head, that is the polar part of the empiphatic phospholipids, and that is hydrophilic, and the non-polar part of a too long fatty acid, and the tail is fatty acid. The head is phospholipids, the head is phosphor group, is phosphor hydrophore group, and the tail is fatty acids, and they are hydrophobic, they don't want to be water. They are non-polar. Are the non-polar parts are the two long fatty acetates which are hydrophobic. I think they mean of the lipid bilayer, not of one of the phospholipids. There are two, in the graph, all these, whatever color it is, blue, green, whatever, they have all two tails. They have two fatty acid tails. They are non-polar and hydrophobic. And like 6 light, the phospholipid molecules orientate themselves in the bilayer with the polar heads facing outwards, and this way the polar heads face the watery fluid on the other side. Cytosol on the inside and extracellular fluid on the outside. Cytosol in the cytoplasm, plasma membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, cytosol, and organelles. And that forms a non-polar hydrophobic region in the membrane's interior. A hydrophobic fatty acetate in each half of the bilayer points towards the center. Glycolipids account 5%, phospholipids 75, glycolipids 5. And glycolipids, they have a sugary carbohydrate group attached. Their carbohydrate group form a polar head. And the attached sugary carbohydrate group is the polar head, and the fatty acid tails, they are non-polar. Glycolipids appear only in the membrane layer, that faces the extracellular fluid, which is one reason the bilayer is asymmetric. The bilayer is asymmetric because the glycolipids, they are geniuses, glycolipids, they're geniuses, they know that more watery fluid is at the outside in the extracellular fluid, that's what we're going with. It's not the reason, but it is what we're doing with. One. The remaining 20% of plasma membrane lipids are weakly empathetic, and 20, so we have 75, 5, and 20. The other ones are only a little weak empathetic. Cholesterol. The other 20% are cholesterol, and they have an OH alcohol group attached. They are weakly empathetic, and they are interspersed among the other lipids in both layers of the membrane. The tiny OH group is the only polar region, and the OH group, the alcohol group, is polar, and it forms hydrogen bonds with the polar heads. And then it forms the OH, so the hydrogen in it, hydrogen bonds with the phosphol group head of the phospholipid. The stiff steroid rings and hydrocarbon tail of cholesterol It is hydrocarbon and steroid rings of the cholesterol. They are non-polar. They fit among the fatty acid tails of the phospholipids and glycolipids. So glycolipids have also a fatty acid tail. It was never said. But it is technically in the sentence. So glycolipids have also a fatty acid tail. We try not to say that. It might be wrong. The plasma membrane typically has more cholesterol than the membranes of organelles. Let's start a second. Let's just start and come back if something is missing. The lipid bilayer, that is the plasma membrane of cells, and it has in the center a hydrophobic non-polar part. And that happens because there are these molecules. There are the phospholipids, the glycolipids, and the cholesterol. And they have all something with them which makes them polar at one side and non-polar at the other one. They are the phospholipids. They have a phosphor head. That phosphor group head is polar. And the polar phosphor head group head of the phospholipids is hydrophilic. It is polar and hydrophilic. It loves the water. So it turns to the watery portion on the outside in the extracellular fluid. and a bunch of other ones of them are turning to the inside to the cytosol, the watery fluid part of the cell inside of the cell. And so they're just all there, and we're turning around, all with the head facing with a phosphohead, the phospholipids, the watery part on both sides. And then they have just then the tail to the inside, the two fatty acid tail, which are hydrophobic, they don't like the water, they turn away, like magnets turning around. And then in the center there is now this hydrophobic, the tails, the fatty acids, they don't like water, hydrophobic non-polar region. And these phospholipids, they are 75% of all these lipids there. And then the cholesterol, they are 20%. And they have an OH alcohol group at their head. And that forms hydrogen bonds with the polar phosphoheads of the phospholipids. So these cholesterol things are also going with their head, with their OH alcohol group head to the heads of the phospholipids. And they have also a tail with steroid rings and a hydrocarbon thing. And then the last 5%, these are glycolipids. They have a sugar carbohydrate attached, and that is doing the same. It's going also there to that. And that way the lipid bilayer is formed. The glycoproteins, the glycolipids, they're going only to the outside. They're only in the outside membrane, and that is why outside layer. And that is why the lipid bilayer is asymmetric, because, for example, the glycolipids are just at the outside. And that is according to Gerard-Tugan-Sandler-Grovski's Principles of Anatomy and Physiology book on the pages 62 and 63. But this is no substitute for medical knowledge and also no medical advice. Let's look at one thing. What did I say to the glycolipids? I forgot what I said. Their carbohydrate groups form a polar head. Whereas their fatty acid tails are non-polar. I didn't say the opposite. What did they say that the alcohol is only polar region? So I said it with the cholesterol, right? That forms hydrogen bonds with the polar heads of the phospholipids. That was right. What did they say to the glycolipids? Their carbohydrate 5%. Their carbohydrate groups form a polar head, whereas the fatty acid tails are non-polar. I didn't say that, but I didn't say anything wrong. I just said they are sorting the same way. They have a polar head and non-polar. Glycolipids appear only in the membrane, but face the extracellular fluid. This is one reason. Okay, more was not explained. More was not explained. It was not explained how we do it, but it makes sense that it works the same way. I didn't say anything contradicting, so I'm going to stop the camera. And that was the cytology part. If you were here for cytology, you can go directly to the next part of cytology. And then we'll continue with cytology. If you stay here and participate in the Armstrength training, then it's better your arm risk. The feet are standing good and stable. And reach with the fingertips as far to the side as you can. And down again. And in front. High up and back. And now around. And now the next exercise, if it causes pain, then don't do it. Long arm, strong fists, circle the fists and the arms. And back again. And now do the other exercise. Arms out and press the fingertips together. Have a little bend in the elbows. And your arms are stronger than your finger joints can hold. So don't press with full force. And if there's at any time pain at the elbows, the wrists, the fingertips, or particularly the finger joints, then stop immediately. And the next exercise, now with fingertips. Same rule. If there's at any time pain at the elbows, wrists, fingers, or in particular the joints of the fingers, then stop immediately. And the next exercise. Press with the fingers into the finale and hypophynar of the hands. If this causes damage at the skin or damage at the nails, and don't do it. Press from the bottom and up. If it causes discomfort or pain, it's very resistant, don't do it. Press from the bottom and up. Again, press and up. Press. Press. Last time. And now with the right hand from the bottom, press and give in. And press. Again. And last time. One arm out and press again. And give in. Arm out, press. Arm out, press. And the last time. And now with square. Press your hands together. Again, if it causes pain or discomfort at the wrists, and do it. Press, go over, and up. Full force isn't necessary. Over, down, middle. Change the direction. Over, up, over, down, and in. And now the rhomboid. Middle, up, middle, middle, down, middle, and backwards. And this was it. Relax my hands, arms to the side, circle in front, and backwards, and one arm in front, shoulders back and down, pull the arm in. Have flat fingers, relax the arm. Go with back with the shoulder, pull the arm in, turn the palm to the sky. Up. Shoulder back and down, pull the arm in. Relax the arm, flap the fingers. Go a bit back with the arm, pull the arm in, turn the palm up to the sky. And now go with moderate pressure over the middle part of the lower arm. And on the other side. And that was the Armstrength training. I thank you very much, and until next time.